Hey guys, welcome to another video. If you like business and marketing advice, strategies, tips, hacks, ideas, then this channel is for you. So I want to encourage you to like and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. In studio, I've got Vikas.
Hello.
Lucky to have you here, my man. And in today's video, we want to unpack what metrics a local business needs to measure in order to get a better understanding on, how efficient and effective their digital marketing is. Now, having worked with over 300 companies, and about, I'd say 30% of them have been local businesses, let's maybe unpack, fix what metrics we religiously measure for local businesses. This will most likely be service-based businesses, whether you're a beauty salon, a cleaning company, a wrapping company, solar, doesn't really matter. I think if you're offering a service, then all these metrics are going to be applicable to your business. So where do we start?
So for local business, the best place to start is really understanding your sales cycle and how people inquire for your services. And you get booking based businesses, you get quote based businesses, and we've also seen businesses that just get general inquiry. So like when you look at when you want to put a car tracker, for instance, in your business, you would just put inquire for that, and then somebody would call you back. When you're a beauty business, you might most likely going to handle bookings and stuff like that. And when you're a cleaning company, you pretty much just going to work on quotes, or a solar company, you're pretty much just going to work on quotes. And it's understanding what you are marketing on the marketing side, and then you just want to measure your lead cost as to how many people actually applies for that particular service that you are marketing at the end of the day. So you want to really measure your lead costs at the end of the day, and then depending on how your sales cycle look, you want to measure the next step in the sales process, whether that's a quote, a booking, or a general inquiry, or a callback, that calls that's being answered. That would be the second level of costs that you want to measure. So it's lead cost. Most businesses will run leads to get their quotes, their bookings, and their inquiries. So it's lead costs, and then what's the next step in that sales process? That's the next cost you would want to measure from a marketing perspective. And then every single business will have some sort of pull-through rate from a quote or a booking to actually people showing up. That's pretty much the third metric that you would want to measure. And then it's pretty much also just seeing, from an offer standpoint, when you are running, what is a healthy lead cost. And we also try to kind of establish a general figure for ourselves to understand, cool, if we pay 20 Rand a quote, this is what we can expect in terms of somebody actually booking or somebody actually becoming a client at the end of the day. And then we know that if the quote prices, or if the quote cost is double that, our cost per booking and those things will actually also become double that in the bigger picture. So it's really then understanding how you can innovate around the offers then to decrease that and to get a better kind of quote and ultimately client cost.
Yeah, it's understanding your business economics. This is like saying well, if you sell a product that costs 10 grand and the cost per quote is 5 grand a quote, then most likely you're not going to run a profitable business. And taking it back to cost per lead, I think most businesses out there, service-based, local businesses, will obviously have to run ads that allow people to inquire. So we will focus on the cost per lead. And like you said, the next step would then be determining, what does the sales cycle look like? Are you going to become a booking? Are you going to become a quote? Are you going to become someone who has scheduled a call, if you're a coach or a consultant, whatever it is. So you can start with cost per lead, and then cost per booking if you're a beauty business, cost per quote if you're a cleaning company, for example, or a wrapping business, and a cost per call. We're a service-based company, and we work with business owners. We help them market their businesses. So we measure cost per lead and then cost per call. And I think touching on that, a lot of people sitting there going, well, if someone inquires for a quote, then they're technically a lead. Just to distinguish between the two, when we say cost per lead, that's usually cost per someone who just left some form of information.
Yeah.
Someone who expressed interest but haven't really committed to coming through for a treatment yet. They just left their details to potentially claim the offer. So they claimed the 20% off offer for laser treatment, but that doesn't mean that they're going to show up and actually get the treatment. Doesn't mean that they're going to make the booking in the next 7 to 14 days, depending on how long that offer is valid. So with us, we capture inquiries. That's what we call a lead. But then that doesn't mean the person is going to schedule a call. We have a ratio. I think it's about 15 to 20% of people who are leads actually book calls. And there's a reason for that, because we don't want random people jumping on a call that doesn't really qualify for our service.
Yeah.
So it's understanding the actual funnel, the marketing funnel, if you will, of your business, your sales cycle, if you will. And at the top, you'll have leads, but not all the leads are going to become clients. So it's then breaking it down, cost per lead, what is that currently sitting at? Then cost per booking or quote. And what I actually, that we haven't really spoken about, but something I like to measure is the conversion rate between the two as well. It's understanding how many leads do you need in order to get a booking, because you might get 10 people claiming the hair treatment offer, but only one actually makes a booking. So that means that you've got a 10% conversion rate between the two. And understanding that metric's important, because now the question you can ask yourself is, how do I actually improve my booking strategy to convert more leads into bookings? Because that is now something that you can optimize in your business in order to squeeze more revenue out for yourself without having to spend more money on marketing per se. So measuring the ratios, the conversion rates between each stage. So it's important to understand that there are different stages: cost per lead, cost per booking or quote, depending on the business. Then cost per acquisition, which will be the cost of a client or the cost of a customer. So beauty industry would be cost per customer. For us, it's a cost per client. And ultimately, then the conversion rate between cost per quote, and then the conversion rate between how many quotes did we send and how many clients did we get. Because now you can then work out a strategy to optimize that part of the sales funnel as well. And then ultimately, ROAS, how much revenue did we get back versus how much money did we spend
direct, because marketing. For local business you can't always measure that, and I think it's more of a lifetime value perspective than it is yes, you need to understand what you are paying versus what you are getting back immediately, and the more accurately you can do that, the better, purely because then you have a good idea of, is my marketing strategy working or not? And that's pretty much just how you measure that, is what is the direct returns. But it's also not being blind to the fact that there's a bigger metric at play always when you run ads, and that is the LTV, the lifetime value of a customer. And I think I've been in a lot of calls and situations of clients and stuff where they where we bring up the conversation of, cool, I can see the marketing is working, we're moving forward, things are happening, but we're not making money. And ultimately, like what we've seen, and that's normally clients that's been with us for weeks, not even a month or two. And the natural way for us, and the natural thing that happens to any business, is you get your cost per acquisition, you understand what you're paying per, what your return is directly from your advertising, but ultimately, like, that starts to compound for most local businesses over time. And the longer you run ads, the more that's going to compound, and the more return visits and referrals you're going to start getting, and that is ultimately what grows your business. So as important as it is to measure metrics and to understand that you need to get a return from your advertising, it's also keeping in mind that there's a bigger snowball effect that's also happening in the back of it.
That is not the final and most important metric, but it is nice to know in terms of, hey, how much did we spend on marketing this month? 5K. Cool. How much did we get back? 20 grand. Okay, cool. That doesn't mean that we have by any means a profitable business yet, but if we can spend 5 grand next month and make another 20 grand back, and we bring people back who were with us in the first month, if you're doing treatments, beauty, cleaning, whatever it may be, then your business starts to compound.
And that's almost, for most businesses, that's hard to measure, especially if you're like in the restaurant space. Like, how do you measure that? There's no specific way to measure that. You'll just kind of have to look at other things, like how busy your restaurant is, for instance. Like, if you have managers in the restaurant or whatever, you'll have to ask them, like, hey, how, are things picking up month on month? Looking at your revenue, looking at items sold. Then you kind of like have to revert, if it's not measurable, like, you kind of have to revert to like other parts of your business to start measuring that. But ultimately, that's a metric that you need to also keep in mind. And like, the direct return versus spend is just a kind of like metric for you to understand, okay, cool, I can keep spending and I'm not going to run backwards. That's pretty much what that means, and that gives you a good indication of, are things working or not.
Yeah, I think that's really all to say on the matter. Just in terms of, we have some of our own businesses. So in the beauty space, just to conclude, we measure cost per lead, we measure cost per booking, we measure the conversion rate between those two, we measure the cost per client, and then we just measure the short-term overall return.
Yeah,
like how much
like
we
you
spent,
can
how much
see
we
how many
got.
existing clients rebooked, and I think that's just how we know that whatever we are doing is both making profit on the front end, but it's also bringing customers back in the back end as well. So
Yeah. And we're getting involved with the wrapping business, and just to highlight on that looks different because the LTV on that is, someone wraps his car, they only do it once, for a period of how many years.
yeah,
So
until they get a new car.
they get a new car.
So
But the ticket item of that is much bigger.
Yeah.
So you can actually measure the direct return on that specifically.
Yeah.
So to conclude, the reality is every business is unique, and you need to ask yourself what metrics are directly connected to the success of the business. And then you need to start measuring those metrics from a marketing perspective. And for most businesses, it's what we discussed today, but it might be something a little bit different to you depending on what industry you're in and how your business is, set up.
Yeah, to sum that up, I think I would just if I'm in our businesses, I just want to know, are we making direct profits? If not, how are the business growing in the bigger picture? And it's just understanding, as you said, what business you're working with, what's your sales cycle like, and what are the important things or indicators for me to understand that the marketing that we're doing are moving the business forward, not just from a direct profitable or sustainable perspective, but also in the longer term.
Love it, man.
And it's also about collecting leads and building a database for future marketing purposes as well. That's also a background effect that you need to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that's also something for another episode, is just unpacking how important it is just to collect information of people who might be interested in the service, who might not want it today.
Yeah.
Because often local business owners would say, these are all crappy leads. The reality is they might not need the service today. They can't afford it today, but they might be able to afford it next month or next year. How many people have come to us after 12 months? Some people have, been on our ecosystem for 2 years, and they said, we've been following you for the last 2 years. We've been receiving your emails. We've been seeing your ads, and now we're ready to commit.
Yeah.
That happens probably 2-3 times a month.
It's so hard to measure that.
But the reality is that's a compounding effect of all the effort that you put in from a paid advertising perspective. Cool. So hope there was some value in this video for you. If there was, I want to politely ask you to consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.